Okay. For a second. All right. Hello, everyone. Welcome to today's Lunch and Learn. It is Tuesday, August 23rd, 2022. My name is Sandel, and I am a sales engineer here at Decisions. I will be your host for today. I see we don't have any pre-submitted questions today, but if you have any questions, feel free to put them in the chat in the Q&A, and we'll get right to them. Thank you. Jake, Jonathan, I34401, welcome. If no one has any questions, then how about we go through some previously asked questions and see if, Jonathan has a question. Hi, Jonathan.
Can you hear me now? I was looking.
Yes.
Okay, so I don't know who asked this question to, but I'm on the business side at Santander. Decisions has been a tremendous advantage in what we've done. I support the bank stress testing here, and by just implementing the decision engine in here, we've been able to reduce the time to generate credible results fed by well, we've improved efficiencies by 25%. And the reason is because the data, this data has been removed from code and just resides in decisions now, and the rules are maintained by the subject matter experts. The issue that I have right now with this is we really enjoy using the truth tables as a way for setting up these rules. However, that is greatly expanded on our platform, and a number of the loss modeling teams wanted to change the definition of something called segment name. And I was wondering if your decisions report generator had a way of reporting on where a particular field was used within a rule set, and how would, and if that's something, I don't know if it could be answered right now, or who would I ask, because when I'm working with my technology team, they seem very challenged by it. I asked them that question. They were able to give me a report that wasn't complete, and I think it's because they just hard coded the number of criteria. So, for example, if you had 5 criteria in a rule, it would check for quote segment name. However, if you had 11, it wouldn't check for it, and if it happened to be in the 10th occurrence, we'd miss it. Is there some type of strategy we could use for finding out if we had to change a rule based on a definition change of one of our criteria fields, that we could see that in a report generator?
So I'm not sure I'm the best person to answer this question. However, I do think this is a question for the support team.
Yep.
Do you have a direct line to the support team?
Well, the technology team does, but they tend to get distracted. Let's put it that way. They're wonderfully proficient in this, especially in executing flows and setting up the inputs so that we can manage the rules. However, from a report generator standpoint, they've really been challenged, and we've had the software out there now for probably 2 years and have yet to be able to generate meaningful reports. So this is why I'm going to start going to the lunch and learns, and maybe this might not be the right environment, but perhaps you can direct me into that.
Yeah, Jonathan, sorry, so now I'm going to step in here. So
Yeah.
what you're wanting to do is on the reports, go ahead and be able to see the dependencies based upon a name. Is that right?
Well, I'll give you the example is that
Okay.
we're using a field called segment name. And segment name has many values. They're thinking of changing the value for what we call middle market. And so we use segment name in our rules. And I just want to see what rule sets are affected by segment name. And if I can check them and see if it's actually testing for the value middle market, do I need to now expand that to middle market and something else? You see, we have specific values we have out there. So if they decide to change that, we would need to update our rules, particularly if they're looking for the value middle market in segment name. So all I simply want to do is get a report that says, for all of my rule sets, where do I use what rule sets consume segment name in the truth tables, for example. That makes sense?
Yeah. So I'm trying to, my wheels are spinning here a little bit. I feel like this is going to be possible. The exact way to do this is going to take me just a few minutes to go ahead and kind of work through.
Please,
I know.
This is no rush. We've been struggling with this for almost a year now. So,
Oh.
so that's not the purpose of this. The purpose is, take your time, get back to us. If I can get a strategy that I can work with. Now, the problem is my technology team's pretty good, and they tried to get a report out, and it looks like they tested for this occurrence. Like if you have a truth table and the truth table has, it's matrix, and let's just say there's 12 rows and 7 columns. If the segment name value is tested in the 7th column, and they're only looking for the first 5 columns in this report, it's not going to show up. And so I don't know what is the strategy to make sure you can find this value agnostic to how many, conditions you have in a truth table. Kind of makes sense?
Yeah, it does. I'm like I said, I'm trying to go ahead and go through my kind of Rolodex of all the different types of reports that we have.
Yeah.
The very first thing that I went through, Jonathan, has anybody ever showed you like the system settings?
No, yeah, I'm on the business side. I really wanted some of the technology people to join. I'm going to probably start having them join in the future. But if I can write down some of these strategies, I can get them to work on it, and then they may. I told them again, if they don't get it immediately, they get sidetracked. And I told
understand.
them many times, can you give the decisions team, the support team, a call? I'm sure they've done this many times. And quite simply, I came from an environment where on a technical side, we developed a generic rules engine in-house at Fidelity that just was tremendous, but people didn't understand it because when you first look at it, it's kind of like talking underwater. When we first launched this at Santander, I got the same look. Now we've adopted it. It's just saving a lot of time. But in terms of quickly analyzing if a value changes and there's more possible values being added to the field, I want to quickly do an analysis to say, where is that value being used?
Yeah.
Decisions.
So Jonathan, if you're okay with it, let's go ahead and look at putting a support ticket in for you. And I'm actually going to go ahead and tie your email address to it so that we can actually go ahead and make sure this gets done for you.
And I actually sent that as a use case when I registered. So I was I don't know if this is the first time I'm showing up to this. So I don't know if this is actually going to be addressed in another meeting. But when I was told there were no questions, I was, what did I do wrong here?
No, it could have just been kind of coming in there at the last minute or something like that.
Well,
Sabrina, we can look at that later on.
I always joke about it. An older version of Nicolas Cage in National Treasure, trying to find the next clue to find the solution. So
Hey,
hopefully you can get me there.
What I'm going to do is let's go ahead and get a support ticket in for you, Jonathan. So we've got somebody that's going to go ahead and walk you through, maybe helping build out that report for you.
Yeah.
What I'm having Sandell do here is if you go over to your system folder, so the gearbox down there,
Yep.
expand out your administration tab. At the end of this little tab right here, you have system tools. So inside of decisions, we already have some of these reporting aspects for you. We have multiple different reports. As far as when it comes to rules, we do have a rule that's called a rule audit history, to where you can actually go ahead when you were creating a report, instead of choosing a data structure, you're able to type in rule audit and it will actually bring that through. The only thing with that is you do have to go ahead and connect the rules to actually tell the system that you want reporting on those rules. That's easy to get
Okay.
done too. We can work that through to
Now,
support
let me
ticket.
ask you this, because these are very intensive. If I add that to the rule, am I gonna suffer some performance degradation? Now, we only run these once a month, but we don't want them to run for like 12 hours, you know? So is that
Yeah.
a consideration that I would need to kind of address? In other words, I'd love to run this maybe once on the side to see, and then turn the logging off, because I don't want it every time, do I?
It kind of just depends on the report that we want. The report I was talking to you about is just one of the different ways that we can go in and see a little bit more insights into reports there. So if Sandell comes over to like flow management, you'll be able to see that we've got some of the different like dashboards where we're keeping records of these already for you. This comes pre-built in for decisions. And up at the top, the different ribbons she has, she can actually go through those different reporting aspects. So if you see anything inside here that would be pretty close to what you want, that might help on that support ticket too. But this just gives you a little bit more to go through and kind of address some of the different flows that we're running and so forth. But I say we go ahead and get a support ticket in for you with your email there and actually have somebody go through and help you build out that report that you're looking for. Just that way it's a little bit easier for you guys to view, especially being on the business side there.
Right, and like I said, the one thing that I want to kind of avoid is it's great that you have this, but these are rather intensive flows that take a while to run right through our, what I'll call our monthly critical path. And I don't want to add to that runtime. If we can,
Understandable.
if we could, like, what I think could happen is, could I do this in a UAT environment, essentially running production in UAT, just to see that, to generate the report? But it wouldn't affect production, because we do need to have a consideration in terms of performance. You know, just because I've been on both sides of the fence, I've been on the business side and I'm also on the technology side. I have to be somewhat sensitive to, I don't want to automatically add logging and then find out it takes another 8 hours to run the job.
Oh, absolutely.
And
I
can
completely
that
understand.
happen? Can that happen as a unintended result?
So when we're going ahead and like just tracking the rule, all it's doing is every time a rule is ran, it's keeping track of that run information. That's all that audit history trail is doing. So it would be more about, I don't know so much that performance would be an issue as much as maybe storage.
Okay.
But we can definitely look into that a little bit more. Absolutely.
And when the flow audit comes in, it basically identifies each criteria tested, you know? Okay.
It actually tells you how it ran and that information too.
That's exactly what we're looking for. So I'm just going to take that down, because we have a resource here. His name is Sat. He's incredibly talented, but he does get distracted if he doesn't get it immediately. And you know,
everybody's got something going on. So if there's anything that we can do to go ahead and help you guys work a little bit more efficiently as a business, all you gotta do is let us know. That's what we're here for. That's what these lunch and learns are here for too.
Well,
So I'm really glad you joined today.
I'm really trying to evangelize this across like the enterprise. Like I said, I didn't use your generic rules engine at Fidelity, but we were able to change our commission pricing in 5 days because of it. And the reason being is that you're externalizing these mission critical business rules from code. And by just doing that, you're making the code more stable because you're not changing it. and you have this ability to test it very quickly and move it to production. So these are the advantages of this, and I'm trying to evangelize. Like we've done that for our what we'll call our bank stress testing process at Santander. But
Mhm.
oh my God, we can use this for so many other applications, and I'm this like one apostle in the forest trying to show people this, So I'm a big fan of this, and I'm going to try and anything that you can help us with would be great. And this is one where we're being challenged by the business, or it's not even the business, it's the loss modeling teams want to differentiate their portfolios. And now all of a sudden we're looking into all of our rules to see where it's impacted. And so hence the question. But
Yeah,
this is
no,
great.
it's understandable.
This is all I need to request for now. I have a host of other things that, you guys will be sick of me if I keep showing up to these meetings, because I'm like a mad scientist wanting to know what's the best
Jonathan?
practice. I always joke with the people at Santander that I'm the laziest person there. I just want to do it once. I only want to do it once, but I want to do it right. So I want to have an elegant solution. So
That's
I'll
what we're
always be
here
asking.
for.
I'll always be asking questions about it.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Okay.
So do I want to send another email question, or do you guys have any evidence that I sent an email with a question when I registered? I think I registered yesterday.
That's a question here for Sabrina. Sabrina and I, after this, can go ahead and look into that a little bit more and then get back to you. I know we've got your email from you registering here, so we can definitely go ahead and follow up with the email there, and then just go ahead and do kind of the.
Do you have also? I'm sorry, but do you also have other email contacts at Santander other than me? Because I don't know if Sudha's joined or not. I sent her the invite. She's amazing. She was the one who really said we should be using truth tables, well, outside of your team, and we've adopted that on so many of these processes that we do. And then Sachin has been amazing on just implementing these flows. But those are two other people that, if you have their email addresses, include them. But if you just send it back to me, I will certainly make sure they get copied onto the email.
I believe we have Sachin, and then maybe another email or two. Again, that's something that I can go ahead and kind of get with Sabrina offline there with.
Yep.
So Sandella and I are part of the sales engineering team, so we don't usually have those contacts off the top of our brain here, but we can definitely go ahead and do a little bit of digging and see what contacts we have for you.
Excellent. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Sandella, I'm going to hand this back over to you.
Thank you, Ashley. Thanks, Jonathan. We had a couple of questions coming here during that exchange. So, Jake, you're up.
Hey, how's it going? Can y'all hear me?
Yes.
All right, yeah. So I've been running into the issue where I'm trying to figure it out, but basically we need to get the logged in user ID identifier. And so right now, currently I do a create data step and do from flow current account user identifier. And then after that, I get the length of the string. And sometimes that's returning, I'm assuming null or blank, which is throwing an exception, or I think it's an exception. Have y'all received any complaints of system user information timing out and not returning any info? Because currently right now, if on exemption, I do a for loop for 3 iterations. If it reaches outside of 3, I show a form that allows them to manually input their agent ID, because I need the ID for APIs and queries. And it's very sporadic. It happens very randomly throughout the day where people's user identification information comes over as blank. So my first get substring.
Do you have something you can show us, like to share on your screen, just so it's not so abstract?
Yeah, I can share my screen.
Hold on a second. Yep, you can do that now.
Sorry, I was muted. Can y'all hear me still?
We can hear you now.
All right, yeah. So my first step in my child flow, I do the create data in order, or get the user, get logged in user, I get the create data step. And I do that by, I don't know if I want to share that information. Basically, I go from flow data, current account, and then user identifier. And these are the system input. That are attached to from flow data. And then what do I say, current user. Basically, this information right here is sometimes coming over as blank. Well, at least that's what I'm guessing. And so whenever I get my length of the substring, that then throws an exception error. So then I do the for loop, and then if that never completes, I show the form that allows them to manually enter it. But everything works perfectly. It outputs my logged in user ID. But randomly throughout the day, I'm with a couple users. They're logging in, authenticating as usual, and they go and hit this step right here. And whenever they go to get the length of the string, it's not returning anything. So this step from getting from flow user, it's returning nothing or null. I was curious if y'all received any.
So
issues.
you're using the let's go back to the flow. On that create data step. Yeah, the user identifier. So if you're using anything that's coming from the account, you only have access to what was input into those data fields when the account was being created. So you can't really draw from what's not there. So if you're seeing this information coming out as blank, my recommendation would be to actually check the account information from the accounts page to see if that information is not there, or if it's there and it's not being pulled in. Because if it's there, it's that likelihood is very, very high that it's going to be pulled in. So if you're not seeing it, my inclination would be to say it's probably not in there. In which case, it would make more sense to, typically when people are creating an account, they would input the email and the password because those are required. The other fields are usually optional. And so if you want to use some of this data and you don't want to collect this data from the email address, which is basically the only the only required field, then that information is not going to exist. Additionally, when you're using current user, there is a point in the flow. There can be points in the flow where the system hands, or the user hands off control to the system. And so when you're using I'm sorry?
reoccurring. Would that be to a reoccurring exceeding steps of reoccurring that then kicks them off the session?
So like yeah, so the handoff usually occurs when, for example, if you have a form that's being filled, once you fill out the form and you hit submit, control goes from the user to the system. And so when you're using current user, at that point, if the current user is the system, you will not be getting this user information back. If you collect information on the initiating user, then you're talking about whoever it is that's starting this flow. So no matter what, if you, whether you hand off to the system at some point in the flow or not, the initiating user information is always going to be the same. So rather than using the, current user, so right now you have current account. Under that, you are using the user identifier under that account.
Yes, ma'am.
What
Which
does that look
what we
like? Is that
sort of what we keep updated, and like the people that run into it, they have accounts set up. It's just like I said, it randomly happens and randomly it does not do anything.
I see.
Which
yeah, since you're not. Go ahead.
The reason why I don't think it's an issue due to the reoccurring, I know there's a process that if there's a maximum amount of steps that we can hit, if so, then it resets. But the error I'm getting whenever I catch the exemption would not reach this step if I believe. I don't know. This is a very tricky concept. I just feel like for some reason it's not pulling over the information every single time. And it's ended up leading to disrupt information being passed in because they can manually type it in rather us gathering from a user profile.
Panelists, does anyone have anything to add? Or any attendees have anything to add?
I don't at this moment, Sindel. I'm again kind of gears turning here. Let's go ahead and take this offline. Restate the question for me so that way I can go ahead and type this out for us.
Whenever I access or over point of time randomly through the day, whenever I try grabbing the user ID from the account user from the flow data current account, I am being returned with no values. So whenever that user executes the flow and I run the get length of string from the create data step, it's returning an exception because most likely you can't get the string length of null, and it's happening randomly. Like sometimes it works for them and sometimes it doesn't.
Okay. Interesting.
And
Is there any sort of
in those situations where it's not working, if you have an example of that situation, by any chance, did you check to make sure that that information that you were hoping to get into this flow exists?
I would assume it would exist given that we have the current account user set up outside of the flow itself. But I was curious, if the amount of steps for reoccursion is met, does that automatically reset a session and clears out anything like any variable? I thought potentially that the reoccursion limit was met, and which would then, I think, kicks you out of your session, which would pull over a blank, the step wouldn't properly work. Because I remember back probably about 5 months ago, we were receiving a bunch of exception messages due to the reoccursion amount limit reached. So with that, I ended up doing a allow start recursion at the top of our, or allow start recursion on start steps for our flow. And honestly, I don't really know what that means, but it ended up working. So I'm guessing it reset the step numbers, the number of steps hit within one session. But yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, I could force this to demonstrate what I'm seeing. So basically, I mean, I forced the null, but it's then trying to get the string of null from the user profile account that we have set up. And like I said, it works with them. It works for like the same person. It works sometimes and sometimes it doesn't. It's not like it's just randomly happening to random people. I mean, it's not like it's happening to the same person. It's randomly happening to random people where sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. And basically, I went to the for loop 4 times just to see if it was like a timeout issue or something. I didn't. And then I show the form where they can manually enter their username and continue. But given that our usernames, I mean, I could add an API here to get all user IDs and compare, see what they input if it matches the continue, but I haven't gotten to that point. But I was just curious if y'all had any idea or heard from other people of the user account information come over as blank. Which I'm assuming, I guess you'll have it.
So I haven't had an issue to where it's kind of bringing the information sometimes and not other times. The only other thing I think of is maybe we go ahead and choose a different option within the select from flow for the flow data. Right now you've got current accounts. The other option we could also do is like you could go through and choose different things like email address instead, or we could do initiating user, just kind of playing around with those fields a little bit to see if one of those maybe we'll go ahead and help correct the solution there. But other than that, let me go ahead and get with the support and see if they've had any of these issues come through for support tickets here. The only other thing I can think of is maybe it's the server just maybe needs to get reset somehow, just kind of like a refresh in there.
Okay. Good.
Sabrina, can you also post Jake's email inside of the chat for us and we can go ahead and follow up with him?
Yeah, Jake, I actually don't have your email, so if you could send that in the chat, that'd be great.
All right.
All right. Do we have any other questions? Jake, you also had a question about a case entity.
I was just referring to what Jonathan was mentioning about how to track a certain instance if a rule is changed to create
Got
a
it.
case entity and display in a dashboard.
Okay, all right. Okay, thank you for that. Do we have any other questions today? Earlier on, I think I saw a hand raised, but I don't see that anymore.
Yeah, I'm good. Thank you though. Thank you for y'all's help.
So am I.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yes. Thank you.
Yeah. See you tomorrow.
I think someone has a question. Uda? I'm gonna, yeah.
Hi. Yeah,
Hi.
I have a question on truth table. Okay. It's a generic question, not related to this particular topic today. But this is important one. So yeah, create a truth table. Can we extract the truth table as an Excel or CSV or anything? Is there any possibility on decisions through flow or any way?
Extract the truth table through what?
Into
Extract,
Excel.
yeah, into Excel as, yeah.
Okay. Ashley, did you get the last part of what?
So you're wanting to go ahead and export the truth table to an Excel itself?
That's correct.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's see if there's a way. I don't know off the top of my head, so I'm just gonna write it.
So yeah, Sindel, can you go ahead and bring up a flow real quick?
Yep, that's what I'm gonna do.
All right, so and again, I just have to go ahead and see. I'm sorry, guys, I'm a very visual person, so I have to go ahead and kind of see the options that we have there. I know off the top of my head that we can go ahead and automatically export a report via an Excel document. A truth table, I feel like that's going to be a yes as well. It's just a matter of going to be how. So hang on just a second while Sandel goes ahead and pulls it back up for us here. And again, if nothing else, we can go ahead and kind of touch base again.
Ashley,
Jonathan, is this the coworker that you were hoping would go ahead and join us today?
Yeah, she, it
Perfect,
looks like,
okay.
and Ashley, can I just ask one question? Can I take a truth table and make it into a report that I can then download into Excel? Does that sound like a possibility?
Off the top of my head, I don't know. The thing is, when we're choosing the reports, though, we have to choose a data source. So for it to come through as like a truth table from a data source, we just have to see the options that we have there, because I know we can do. That's a good question. See, Jonathan, you're just stumping us today.
Well, and by the
way,
it's more Suda. Trust me, she's the expert. But I think one of the reasons I am very fond of truth tables was after Suda saying this is the way we should do it, is that it's very self-documented. You can look at a truth table and basically see the entire business rule there rather than looking at each rule in a rule set,
Yeah.
It's so much nicer.
And I don't know if you guys, what version are you guys running on right now? Is it version 7, 8?
I think we have to upgrade to the most recent version. That's another thing that we've probably been deficient in. So let me see. I'll log on really quickly and see if it tells me in about.
.7.
Okay. Okay. So I believe probably what Sandel's going to go ahead and bring up for us is probably going to be version 8. So it's going to be a little bit different for you guys, especially working on version 6 there. It's been a hot minute, probably over a year since I've worked out of version 6 there. So it may be a little bit different. Let me go ahead and add on to that support ticket for you guys to go ahead and look at the truth tables there as well too. Okay.
And Ashley, should we, be encouraged to upgrade whenever possible? And maybe we can reach out to Sasha.
Do you want me to be biased or a middleman?
I want you to be collaborative and be our partners and say, hey, I don't want you teaching us stuff, that's, 2 versions back if there's a more efficient way to do it. If it requires a complete, upgrade that's going to take 2 months to convert everything, we may need to go in a different direction. But,
So the
ideally,
benefits. The benefits of going up to version 7, and then I'll talk about version 8 next. The benefits of going up to version 7 are going to be things such as your active form flows, and there's a few other features in there, but my favorite is active form flows because they're just easier to work with, especially when we're working with a whole bunch of forms. Now, if
Yep.
you don't have a whole bunch of forms in there, it's a little bit different. We also have things inside 7, such as rule tables, which are a little bit different than truth tables, but they're pretty similar. So if you like truth tables, something tells me that you may like rule tables even better. Going from 7 to 8, which would be our newest one here, is 8. 8 brings in all those same features as before, except now we're also partnering with process mining. So if at any point, especially as you're going through and doing all these different use cases across your business, across your departments, process mining, as long as we have stateful logs, allows us to now see the business metrics behind those processes going on, which is where I kind of geek out. Business is my thing I love the most. So to be able to go ahead and see any and identify any bottlenecks as well as variants is what gets me excited about everything. So to have another kind of subset of decisions there, I think is really cool.
What we do generally right now, thanks to Sudha's leadership, is to use truth tables in the future, because we really want the business to maintain this rather than tell Sudha or I to go in and update it. We'd like to create forms that actually would update, you know, some of these, what we have is mapping tables, right? We would just like to create forms that do that. So in the future, we're hoping to use forms as a front end, to allow the actual subject matter experts in the business to maintain the rules, and that would be good for them so they would understand this in the first place. But if I were ever asked them to go learn truth tables, that would just be a losing battle. But to go in and update a form is where we're going to get some value added there. So just to give you a context of where we are in terms of the maturity of the application. That's our goal, is to move to the forms. And I think what you're saying is if you do that, you're going to benefit from version 7.
Yeah, and then if you want to take it up a notch, yeah, the next version is version 8. Maybe go ahead and talk to your account executive there and kind of start that conversation rolling. And if need be, we can go ahead and kind of type up a document. Or I think, Sabrina, something tells me that we kind of have a document that starts comparing our versions, don't we?
That would have been a great question for Kirsten, who was just on the doc team. I can ask her and follow up.
Okay,
So then-
sounds good.
So then we have 2 open questions then. The one that I wanted in terms of how I can report, or in a report format, get what fields are being used within rule sets, or more specifically at truth tables. And the other one is any potential opportunity to download a truth table into a Excel spreadsheet or export it into that. Correct, Sudha? I mean, it's only like it's like a matrix.
That's correct, John. Yes, that's what we need. 2 open questions.
Okay, yep. I've got some of those
and
notes
again,
taken
we're
down in the support for you.
We're definitely going to take advantage of the lunch and learn. I think this is valuable for us right now. We're really starting to take advantage of decisions. It wasn't only just converting all of our derived rules into decisions, but now just how easy it is when we introduce a new rule and use it in decisions. But part of that maintenance is when the business, which is very fluid and robust, changes a definition. We just need to make sure that we're aware of it. So the easiest way to get that reporting would be much appreciated.
Perfect. Yeah, absolutely.
All right, Sudha, anything else?
No, John, I'm good. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, you guys. We'll see you at noontime tomorrow. Okay, bye now.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.